The silent world Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Conquest's Edge, watching the endless stars through the massive viewscreen. His reptilian features showed satisfaction as he reviewed the intelligence reports one final time. Earth, a small blue world in an unremarkable system called Sol. The reports were clear. Humans were primitive. They used basic fusion power, sent crude radio signals into space, and showed no signs of advanced military technology. "Admiral," his tactical officer hissed, the sound echoing through his throat in the way of their species. "All ships report ready. The pacification fleet awaits your orders." Kethvar nodded, his scaled head gleaming under the bridge lights. 200 warships surrounded his flagship, the largest fleet the hegemony had assembled in decades, though he suspected it was massive overkill. The humans would surrender within hours once they saw the might arrayed against them. Or they would die. Either outcome served the hegemony's purposes. The Galactic Council had debated the human question for months. The crystalline beings of the collective wanted to study them. The gas dwellers of the Nebula Confederation argued for peaceful contact. But the hegemony knew better. Resources were finite, territory was power, and humans occupied a system rich in rare metals and positioned on valuable trade routes. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we are receiving the final intelligence update from command." Kethvar accessed the data through his neural link. The same information as before, but now confirmed by 3 different spy networks. Human technology was centuries behind galactic standards. Their fastest ships barely managed to reach their outer planets. Their weapons were chemical explosives and primitive lasers. They had no shields, no energy weapons worthy of the name, no faster-than-light communication beyond simple quantum entanglement experiments. The intelligence reports showed orbital photographs of Earth's major cities. Massive structures of concrete and steel, impressive for primitives but laughably vulnerable to orbital bombardment. The humans had no defense platforms, no orbital weapons, no military installations that posed any threat to a proper warship. "Most interesting," Kethvar mused aloud. "They appear to have detected our scout probes but made no attempt to respond militarily. No mobilization of their primitive fleets, no defensive preparations. They either lack the capability to respond or are too terrified to act." His second-in-command, a younger reptilian named Vesitar, slithered closer. "Perhaps they hope to surrender peacefully, Admiral. Some species choose submission when faced with overwhelming force." "Perhaps." Kethvar studied the tactical display, though their radio broadcasts suggest otherwise. "Our linguists report that human entertainment frequently depicts violent resistance against impossible odds. Curious programming for a species that lacks the capability to resist." The fleet hung in space at the edge of the Sol system, their stealth systems engaged. Not that it mattered. Human sensors were too primitive to detect them anyway. The plan was simple. Jump to Earth orbit, demand surrender, and begin occupation protocols. Any resistance would be crushed within hours. Far below, on the 3rd planet from the local star, billions of humans went about their daily lives, unaware that their fate hung in the balance. The intelligence reports showed them working in their cities, tending their farms, launching their primitive spacecraft to nearby moons. A peaceful species by all appearances. Almost idyllic in their ignorance of galactic realities. Kethvar had conquered 17 worlds for the hegemony. Some had surrendered immediately upon seeing his fleet. Others had fought with primitive courage, sending their obsolete warships against superior technology. The humans would likely fall somewhere between these extremes, shocked into submission, with perhaps token resistance from their most foolish military leaders. "Admiral," the sensor officer reported. "Long-range scans confirm the intelligence data. No orbital defenses detected. No military vessels beyond their exploration craft. No energy signatures suggesting advanced weaponry." "Excellent." Kethvar settled into his command chair. "Signal the fleet. We jump to Earth orbit in 1 standard hour. Full battle formation but weapons on standby only. I expect this to be concluded quickly." The bridge crew acknowledged his orders with professional efficiency. Around the flagship, 200 warships began their final preparations. Particle cannons charged, missile tubes loaded, landing craft prepared for planetary assault. The MUP hegemony's military machine readied itself to add another world to their growing empire. What the Admiral did not know, what no alien species suspected, was that deep beneath Earth's Pacific Ocean, Commander Sarah Chen sat in a control room that officially did not exist. Banks of quantum computers processed incoming data from sensors scattered throughout the solar system. Every ship in Kethvar's fleet had been tracked, analyzed, and targeted from the moment they entered long-range detection. Contact bearing. 27 Mark IV showing minimal emissions, reported her tactical officer. Classification. Probable command vessel based on escort patterns. Chen nodded, studying the holographic display that showed every enemy ship in perfect detail. 40 years of preparation had led to this moment. 40 years since humanity's first contact protocols had been established and the terrible decision made. Earth would remain silent. Earth would appear defenseless. And Earth would be ready. The deception had required sacrifices. Promising colonies, abandoned. Advanced technologies kept hidden. Military installations built in the deepest ocean trenches and buried inside asteroids. While the galaxy watched primitive fusion rockets struggling to reach Mars, humanity's true achievements remained, invisible behind quantum stealth fields and carefully crafted misdirection. "Ma'am," her communications officer called softly, "we're receiving updated intelligence from the outer system monitors. Enemy formation analysis confirms original estimates. 200 vessels, mixed cruiser and destroyer classes. No dreadnoughts or heavy carriers detected. They're confident," Chen observed. "Probably planning a simple orbital superiority operation followed by surrender demands." She accessed her personal files, reviewing the psychological profiles their xenobiologist had compiled on hegemony leadership. Reptilian species, hierarchical society, military doctrine based on intimidation and overwhelming force. They expected their enemies to follow predictable patterns: panic, desperate resistance, inevitable submission. The aliens had made one critical error in their intelligence gathering. They assumed that a peaceful species was a weak species. They confused silence with ignorance and preparation with primitiveness. "Commander?" her executive officer asked quietly. "Are we really going to let them get that close?" Chen considered the question. The original plan called for allowing the enemy fleet to reach Earth orbit before revealing humanity's true capabilities. Maximum psychological impact, perfect tactical positioning, complete strategic surprise. But 200 ships represented significant firepower even with their technological limitations. "We follow the plan," she decided. "They need to commit fully before we show our hand. If they retreat now and report back to their government, we face a much larger fleet next time." The countdown continued. In hidden bases across the solar system, humanity's true military force waited in perfect silence. Dreadnoughts larger than city blocks sat powered down in asteroid hollows. Weapons platforms disguised as mining stations tracked incoming threats. And in the deepest ocean trenches, where no alien sensor could penetrate, the most advanced warships ever built by human hands prepared to rise. The galaxy thought Earth was defenseless. Admiral Kethvar was about to learn how wrong the galaxy could be. Time to contact, 57 minutes and counting. The Watchers wake. The hegemony fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, their arrival sending ripples through local space-time. Admiral Kethvar watched with satisfaction as Earth hung before them like a blue jewel, undefended and ripe for conquest. His ship spread out across orbital space, weapons systems powered but not yet active. "Scan the planet," he ordered. "Look for any surprises the intelligence reports might have missed." His sensor officer worked quickly, sweeping Earth with active scanners. "Admiral, readings confirm previous intelligence. Primitive orbital installations, basic communication satellites, and what appear to be space stations conducting scientific research. No military signatures detected. On the planet's surface, automated systems registered the alien arrival within nanoseconds. Quantum encrypted signals flashed between hidden facilities, carrying one simple message. The wait was over." "Commander." Sarah Chen felt the deck vibrate beneath her feet as the massive complex around her came fully online. The Pacific Command Center had been built inside an extinct underwater volcano, its existence hidden from human civilians as much as from alien observers. Now, 40 years of careful preparation reached its moment of truth. "All stations report. Ready, Commander," her operations officer announced. "Stealth systems holding steady. The enemy fleet is taking standard orbital positions." Chen studied the tactical display. 200 enemy ships arranged in a classic intimidation formation, heavy units in high orbit, lighter vessels forming a blockade net, landing craft preparing for descent. Textbook invasion doctrine, executed with military precision. "There, following the pattern exactly," she observed. No creativity, no adaptation for unknown factors. They truly believe we're helpless. Her communication systems officer looked up from his station. Ma'am, we're detecting broad-spectrum transmissions from the lead vessel. They're attempting to establish contact using basic mathematical principles. Put it through the translation matrix. The alien voice that emerged from the speakers carried the harsh tones of a predator species, though the words were now rendered in clear English. Primitive inhabitants of the third planet. This system now belongs to the hegemony. You will surrender all governmental authority and prepare for occupation. Resistance will result in the complete destruction of your civilization. Chen almost smiled. Standard demands. No negotiation offered, no terms discussed. They really do think this will be simple. She activated her personal communicator. All units, this is Pacific Command. Execute Protocol Omega. I repeat, Protocol Omega is now active. Across the solar system, humanity's hidden assets began to stir. In the asteroid belt, Mining Station Ceres received the signal and initiated shutdown of its stealth systems. What had appeared to be a simple ore processing facility began to reveal its true nature as weapons ports opened and massive engines came online. The station wasn't built for mining. It was humanity's first deep space dreadnought, disguised as civilian infrastructure. Near Jupiter's moon Europa, what orbital scans had classified as a research outpost powered down its holographic camouflage. The UES Indomitable emerged from 50 years of perfect concealment, her hull stretching over 2 kilometers in length. Advanced alloys designed to absorb sensor waves gave way to active defense systems as the ship prepared for battle. On Mars, beneath the polar ice caps where no alien probe had penetrated, automated systems began raising massive structures through specially designed tunnels. Defense platforms emerged like metal flowers blooming in the thin atmosphere, their surfaces bristling with weapons the galaxy had never seen. But the most significant awakening occurred in Earth's deepest ocean trenches. The Mariana Base, built 7 miles below the surface in a place no surface sensors could reach, released its primary assets. Dreadnoughts that dwarfed anything in the alien fleet rose through the crushing depths, their passage undetectable to orbital observers. Admiral Kethvar waited for the primitive response he expected. Perhaps a desperate transmission begging for mercy. Maybe a futile attempt to launch their exploration craft in some pathetic show of defiance. What he did not expect was silence. Sir, his communications officer reported. No response from the planet. All frequencies remain quiet except for normal civilian broadcasts. Perhaps they are too frightened to respond, suggested Vestar. Some species become paralyzed when confronted with superior force. Kethvar frowned, his reptilian features showing slight concern. Continue scanning. Something feels wrong about this. His sensor officer suddenly stiffened. Admiral. New contact. Bearing 187 Mark 12. Large vessel, unknown classification. Where did that come from? On the main screen, the UES Indomitable materialized, as if formed from empty space itself. Her hull reflected no light, absorbing sensor beams and electromagnetic radiation with unnatural efficiency. To alien eyes, she looked less like a spaceship and more like a piece of the void given form. How large is that vessel? Kethvar demanded. Estimating 2.3 kilometers in length, sir. Mass readings are... That cannot be correct. What are the readings? Sir, the mass estimates suggest that ship has more tonnage than our entire fleet combined. But that's impossible. Kethvar studied the impossible vessel. No energy signatures, no heat bloom from engines, no electromagnetic emissions typical of a functioning starship. Yet it hung in space with obvious intelligence behind its positioning. Attempt communication with the unknown vessel, he ordered. The response came immediately, transmitted on frequencies the hegemony used for military communications. The voice was calm, professional, and spoke in perfect hegemony battle language. Hegemony. Fleet, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. You are trespassing in human space without authorization. You have exactly 60 seconds to begin withdrawal procedures, or we will consider your presence an act of war. The bridge fell silent. Kethvar's tactical officer broke the quiet with a trembling voice. Admiral, we're detecting more contacts, multiple large vessels appearing throughout the system. The display updated rapidly. Red indicators blossomed across local space as human ships dropped their stealth systems. Each contact represented a vessel that matched or exceeded the largest ships in the hegemony fleet. The aliens found themselves outnumbered and outgunned in what they had assumed was empty space. This is impossible, Vesitar hissed. The intelligence reports showed no military capability, no shipyard facilities, no orbital construction. Chen's voice came again, carrying the tone of someone accustomed to being obeyed. Hegemony vessels, you now have 30 seconds to begin withdrawal. We have been monitoring your approach for the past 18 hours. We know your ship classifications, your weapons capabilities, and your tactical doctrine. We also know this is a reconnaissance in force, not your main battle fleet. Kethvar's mind raced. How did they know hegemony military terminology? How had they remained undetected until now? And how had a primitive species built warships that his sensors couldn't properly classify? Admiral, his intelligence officer called out, I'm reviewing our long-range sensor data from the past year. If I filter for specific energy signatures, sir, these ships have been here all along. We just couldn't see them. You're saying they have stealth technology superior to ours? Sir, I'm saying they have stealth technology we didn't know was possible. Chen's final transmission carried no emotion, only fact. Hegemony Fleet, your time has expired. You are now in violation of human territorial space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Admiral Kethvar looked at his tactical display, showing 200 hegemony warships surrounded by an unknown number of human vessels. Ships that had been invisible until they chose to reveal themselves. Ships built by a species the galaxy had dismissed as primitive. For the first time in his military career, Admiral Kethvar began to consider the possibility that the hegemony had made a terrible mistake. The Iron Awakening Admiral Kethvar stared at the tactical display, watching red icons multiply around his fleet. Human warships appeared from what his sensors had reported as empty space, each one larger than anything in his armada. The impossible had become reality. Earth was not defenseless, Earth was a trap. Sir, his tactical officer reported with barely controlled panic. Additional contacts appearing in all quadrants. Current count shows 43 human vessels, with more still decloaking. The UES Indomitable hung in space before them, her dark hull seeming to absorb light itself. No running lights, no heat signatures, no electromagnetic emissions that alien sensors could properly interpret. She looked less like a machine and more like a hole in space shaped like a warship. Admiral, Vestar whispered, what are your orders? Kethvar considered his options. Retreat would mean admitting the intelligence reports were wrong. That an entire civilization had been underestimated. But staying might mean facing technology he didn't understand with tactics he couldn't predict. Signal the fleet, he decided. Battle stations. If these humans want to fight, they'll learn why the galaxy fears the hegemony. The decision made, 200 hegemony warships powered their weapon systems. Particle beams charged, missile tubes loaded, and energy shields activated. The formation tightened into a battle sphere, presenting maximum firepower in all directions. Admiral Chen watched the alien response from her command center 7 miles beneath the Pacific Ocean. Holographic displays showed her every enemy ship, their energy readings, weapon signatures, and tactical positions. 40 years of preparation had led to this moment. Enemy fleet is assuming defensive formation Delta 7, her tactical officer reported. Standard hegemony doctrine for facing unknown threats. They're following their training manual exactly, Chen observed. No improvisation, no adaptation. They still think this is a conventional battle. She activated fleet communications. All vessels, this is Pacific Command. The enemy has chosen to fight rather than withdraw. Execute Plan Thunder. Show them what human military doctrine actually looks like. The UES Indomitable moved first, her massive bulk accelerating with impossible grace. No visible engines, no reaction mass, just smooth movement that defied everything aliens knew about space combat. She didn't maneuver like a ship. She moved, like a predator. Kethvar watched the human dreadnought approach his formation. All vessels target the large ship, concentrate firepower and destroy it before it can reach weapons range. 150 particle beams lanced out across space, each one carrying enough energy to destroy a city. The beam struck the Indomitable's hull and simply vanished, absorbed by materials that converted directed energy into harmless heat. No effect, his weapons officer called out. The beams are having no impact. Impossible. Nothing can absorb that much energy. But the Indomitable was already returning fire. Weapons ports opened along her hull, revealing systems that bore no resemblance to known galactic technology. Instead of energy beams or explosive missiles, she launched clouds of what appeared to be metallic dust. Sir, the enemy has deployed some kind of particulate weapon, the sensor officer reported. Composition unknown. Wait. The particles are accelerating. The metallic cloud struck the hegemony formation at a significant percentage of light speed. Each particle, no larger than a grain of sand, carried kinetic energy equivalent to a nuclear weapon. Alien shields designed to deflect energy beams and explosive warheads offered no protection against pure kinetic force. 3 hegemony cruisers died instantly, their hulls punctured by thousands of microscopic projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. The particles passed completely through the ships, leaving molecular-sized holes that rapidly expanded as internal atmosphere vented into space. "Evasive action!" Kethvar shouted. But his ships were built for head-to-head combat, not for dodging clouds of weaponized debris moving at near light speed. More human vessels emerged from concealment throughout the system. Each one employed different tactics, different weapons, different approaches to warfare. The aliens found themselves facing not just superior technology, but an entirely different philosophy of combat. The human ships didn't fight like galactic navies. They didn't exchange broadsides or engage in honorable duels between matched opponents. They fought like Earth's apex predators, coordinated, adaptable, and utterly ruthless. A group of smaller human vessels surrounded a hegemony destroyer and deployed swarms of autonomous drones. Each drone was no larger than a fighter craft, but they moved within human precision and coordination. They didn't try to destroy the alien ship. They dismantled it piece by piece while their target's weapon systems failed to track targets moving in completely unpredictable patterns. Another human ship, identified as the UES Prometheus, demonstrated humanity's approach to electronic warfare. Instead of jamming alien communications, it infiltrated them. Hegemony commanders found their own tactical systems providing false information, their weapons targeting friendly vessels, their shields lowering without authorization. "Admiral," Vesitar said, his voice shaking, "we're not fighting a primitive species. We're fighting something that makes us look primitive." Kethvar studied the battle unfolding around his fleet. In 30 minutes of combat, he had lost 47 ships without inflicting significant damage on a single human vessel. His remaining forces were scattered, demoralized, and facing enemies that seemed to anticipate their every move. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the human flagship." Admiral Chen's voice filled the bridge, calm and professional despite the carnage surrounding them. "Admiral Kethvar, you have 2 choices. Order your remaining ships to surrender or watch them all die in the next 10 minutes. We take no pleasure in destruction, but we will not tolerate invasion." "How do you know my name?" Kethvar demanded. "We've been monitoring hegemony communications for decades. We know your military structure, your tactical doctrines, and your political objectives. We also know this fleet represents less than 5% of your total military strength." The admission hung in space between them. Chen continued, "You came here expecting to conquer a defenseless world. Instead, you've discovered that Earth has been preparing for this moment since we first detected alien intelligence. Every ship in your fleet is already targeted by weapons you cannot defend against." To prove her point, 3 more hegemony vessels simply vanished from the tactical display. No explosions, no debris fields, just empty space where warships had existed moments before. "What did you do to them?" Kethvar asked, though part of him didn't want to know the answer. "Molecular disintegration beam. We convert matter back to its component atoms. Very clean, very efficient, and absolutely final." Kethvar looked around his bridge at officers who had served him faithfully for years. Reptilians who had conquered star systems and brought glory to the hegemony. Now they stared at their instruments in shock, watching their most advanced weapons prove useless against human defenses. "Admiral Chen," he said finally, "what are your terms for surrender?" "Simple. Your ships will be escorted to the edge of our solar system and released. You will carry a message back to the Galactic Council. Earth is no longer hiding. We prefer peace, but we are prepared for war." The great deception was over. Humanity had revealed itself at last, and the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Kethvar, veteran of 17 conquests, gave the order he had never imagined speaking. "All ships, stand down weapons and prepare to surrender." The age of human silence was ending. The age of human strength had begun. Thunder. Across the void, the surrender of Admiral Kethvar's fleet should have ended the battle, but Admiral Chen knew better. Deep space sensors showed new contacts approaching from the outer system, a second hegemony force, larger and better equipped than the first. The aliens had held reserves in case their initial invasion met unexpected resistance. "Ma'am," her tactical officer reported, "long-range sensors detect 400 additional vessels approaching from beyond Pluto's orbit. Classifications include heavy battle cruisers, and what appears to be a Dreadnought-class vessel. Chen studied the tactical display. The new force represented the real hegemony fleet. The first group had been expendable scouts designed to test human defenses. Now the aliens knew Earth wasn't helpless. They were sending their main battle force. "Signal Admiral Kethvar," she ordered. "Tell him his reinforcements are about to witness something the galaxy has never seen." On the bridge of Conquest's Edge, now surrounded by human escort vessels, Kethvar received the message with growing dread. He activated his long-range communications, knowing his words might be the last transmission his species ever received from this system. "Fleet Commander Gareth Maul, this is Admiral Kethvar. Do not engage the human forces. I repeat, do not engage. They are not what our intelligence reported." The response came immediately, filled with reptilian arrogance. "Admiral, your fleet appears to have been captured by primitives. Stand by for rescue operations." Chen intercepted the transmission and smiled grimly. "Commander, prepare for full tactical demonstration. It's time the galaxy learned what human military doctrine really looks like." The second hegemony fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 400 warships arranged, in a battle configuration that had conquered a dozen systems. At their center, the massive Dreadnought Galaxy's fist stretched 3 kilometers from bow to stern, bristling with enough firepower to glass a planet. Fleet Commander Gareth Maul surveyed the tactical situation from his command throne. The human ships looked impressive, but numbers told the real story. 400 hegemony vessels against perhaps 50 human craft. The mathematics of warfare were simple and absolute. "Signal the humans," he ordered. "Inform them that their resistance is futile. They will release our captured vessels immediately or face complete destruction." Admiral Chen's response surprised him with its calm professionalism. "Fleet Commander, you have one opportunity to withdraw your forces and avoid unnecessary casualties. We have no desire to destroy your ships, but we will not permit further invasion of human space." "You are outnumbered 8-1, Gareth Maul," replied. "Your threats ring hollow. Numbers don't tell the whole story, Commander. Let me show you what they don't teach in galactic military academies." The demonstration began with the UES Indomitable, still positioned near the captured first fleet. Instead of moving to engage the new threat, she simply disappeared. "Sir," the hegemony sensor officer reported, "the large human vessel has vanished from all sensors." "Stealth systems," Gareth Maul dismissed. "We know they possess advanced camouflage. All ships' active sensor sweeps find that vessel and destroy it." 400 ships began intensive scanning, their combined sensor power capable of detecting a pebble in deep space. They found nothing. The Indomitable had simply ceased to exist as far as their instruments could determine. Then the attacks began. The first hegemony vessel to die never saw what killed it. The Heavy Strike, a battle cruiser with 40 years of combat experience, simply exploded from within. No external impacts, no energy beam strikes, no missile detonations. One moment it was a functional warship, the next it was expanding debris. "Report," Gareth Maul demanded. "Unknown, sir. Sensor logs show no incoming weapons fire. The ship just exploded. 3 more vessels died in the same manner, internal explosions with no apparent external cause." The hegemony formation began to waver as ships tried to identify a threat they couldn't detect. Admiral Chen watched the enemy's confusion with professional satisfaction. The Indomitable hadn't disappeared. She had activated her experimental phase shift drive, allowing her to exist slightly outside normal spacetime. From that position, she could deploy molecular disruptors directly inside enemy hulls, bypassing all defensive systems. "Sir," her executive officer observed, "the enemy fleet is beginning to disperse. They're trying to prevent concentrated targeting." "Good. That makes them vulnerable to the next phase." Throughout the solar system, hidden weapons platforms came online. What appeared to be asteroid mining stations revealed themselves as massive railguns. Jupiter's moons opened concealed missile silos. Even the sun itself became a weapon, as orbital collectors focused solar energy into coherent beams. The hegemony fleet found itself caught in a 3-dimensional crossfire. Kinetic projectiles launched from the asteroid belt struck with planet-cracking force. Energy beams from the inner system carved through alien hulls like cutting torches through paper, and from every direction, clouds of autonomous drones swarmed toward their targets. Gareth Maul watched his tactical display fill with threat indicators. "This is impossible. No species possesses this level of military infrastructure. Our intelligence report showed no major orbital installations. His intelligence officer was frantically reviewing data. Sir, if I analyze the sensor ghosts and energy shadows, I think these installations have been here for decades, hidden, waiting. You're saying they've been preparing for us specifically? Sir, I'm saying they've been preparing for everyone. The human drones reached the alien formation and demonstrated why Earth had developed the galaxy's most advanced artificial intelligence. Each drone was individually intelligent, capable of learning and adapting in real time. But they didn't fight as individuals. They functioned as components of a single vast mind that processed combat data at superhuman speeds. Alien point defense systems, designed to stop conventional missiles and fighter craft, proved useless against targets that could predict and counter every defensive measure. The drones flowed around energy barriers, dodged interceptor missiles, and coordinated their attacks with mechanical precision. But the most devastating human weapon wasn't technological, it was tactical. Earth's military doctrine had been shaped by millennia of warfare between human nations, conflicts that had produced strategic thinking of unmatched sophistication. While galactic civilizations fought according to honor codes and traditional formations, humanity had perfected the art of total war. Admiral Chen coordinated the battle like a master chess player, using every resource at her disposal. Gravity, wells became weapons as she maneuvered enemy ships into positions where they could be crushed by tidal forces. Solar radiation became a tool of war as she positioned battles to blind alien sensors. Even time itself became tactical, as human ships used relativistic speeds to appear in multiple places simultaneously. Sir, Gareth Mole's tactical officer reported, we've lost 130 vessels. Enemy casualties, 0. The fleet commander stared at his display in disbelief. His force represented the finest military technology the hegemony could now produce, manned by veterans of countless campaigns. They were being systematically destroyed by an enemy that seemed to anticipate their every move. Commander? Admiral Chen's voice came over the communication channel. You have two choices. Surrender now and join your colleague Admiral Kethvar, or continue fighting and lose your entire fleet. You have 60 seconds to decide. Gareth Mole looked around his bridge at officers who had served the hegemony faithfully for decades. Reptilian warriors who had never known defeat, now facing an enemy beyond their comprehension. Fleet Commander. His communications officer called out, we're receiving surrender requests from multiple ship commanders. They're requesting permission to stand down. In the space of 90 minutes, the most powerful military force the hegemony had ever assembled had been reduced to scattered survivors, begging for mercy. Gareth Mole realized that everything the galaxy believed about warfare, about technology, about the balance of power among the stars, had just been proven wrong. All ships, he said quietly, stand down weapons and prepare to surrender. Admiral Chen's final transmission carried a tone of finality. Fleet Commander, your ships will be escorted to the system boundary and released. You will carry this message to the Galactic Council. Earth is no longer silent. We prefer peace, but we are prepared for war on a scale the galaxy has never imagined. The Battle of Sol was over. Humanity had revealed its true strength, and the universe would never be the same. The new silence. 3 weeks after the Battle of Sol, the Galactic Council chamber buzzed with tense conversation in a dozen languages. Representatives from every major civilization had gathered on the neutral world of Kepler Prime to discuss the impossible reports reaching them from hegemony space. Ambassador Geltar of the Crystalline Collective spoke first, her translucent form shimmering with agitation. The reports cannot be accurate. No primitive species possesses the capability to defeat 600 hegemony warships without losses. The gas being representative from the Nebula Confederation pulsed with disagreement. Yet we have testimony from 2 separate fleet commanders, confirmed by long-range sensor data from our monitoring stations. The human military displayed technology beyond current galactic standards. At the center of the chamber, Admiral Kethvar stood before the assembled delegates. His reptilian form showed the strain of recent events, scales dulled and posture submissive. Honored representatives, I have served the hegemony military for 40 standard years. I have conquered 17 worlds and faced every known form of military technology. What I witnessed in the Sol system exceeds anything in our experience. Explain these claims, demanded the hegemony's own representative, his voice carrying the authority of an empire that had never known significant defeat. Kethvar activated a holographic projector showing recorded footage from the battle. The assembled delegates watched in silence as human dreadnoughts materialized from empty space, as alien weapons proved ineffective against unknown defensive systems, as entire fleets were systematically dismantled by enemies that seemed to predict every tactical decision. They knew our battle language, Kethvar continued. They knew our ship classifications, our tactical doctrines, our command structure. They had been preparing for us specifically, for decades. The collective's representative pulsed with disbelief. You suggest they have been monitoring galactic civilizations while maintaining the pretense of primitiveness? I suggest they have been playing a game we didn't know existed. Deep in the Earth's Pacific Ocean, Admiral Chen reviewed the same recordings from her underwater command center. The Galactic Council session was being monitored through quantum listening devices humanity had placed on their station years before. Earth's intelligence network had been active far longer than any alien civilization suspected. Ma'am, her intelligence officer reported, long-range sensors show increased military activity in 17 systems. Multiple species are mobilizing their fleets. Expected response, Chen replied calmly. Fear breeds preparation. They're trying to understand what they're dealing with. Her executive officer looked up from his station. Admiral, are we really prepared for a galactic war? 600 ships was just the opening move. Chen studied the strategic display showing known alien military assets. The combined fleets of galactic civilization numbered in the hundreds of thousands of vessels. Even with humanity's technological advantages, those were challenging odds. Commander, we're not preparing for a galactic war. We're preventing one. She activated her communication systems, sending a message that would reach every major civilization within hours. The transmission used galactic standard frequencies and diplomatic protocols, proving that humanity had been capable of proper contact all along. Representatives of the Galactic Council, Chen's voice carried clearly through the chamber on Kepler Prime. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. We have monitored your session and wish to address your concerns directly. The chamber fell silent. Direct communication with the mysterious humans was unprecedented. First, Chen continued, Earth has no territorial ambitions beyond our solar system. We seek neither conquest nor expansion into galactic space. Second, we pose no threat to any civilization that respects our sovereignty. Third, we are prepared to establish diplomatic relations with any species that approaches us peacefully. Ambassador Geltar's crystalline form brightened with cautious hope. What assurances can you provide that humanity will not use its military capabilities aggressively? The same assurances your species provides, Chen replied. Our word, backed by our actions. For 40 years we could have revealed ourselves and challenged galactic civilization. Instead we chose silence and preparation. We prefer peace, but we will defend ourselves with absolute commitment. The hegemony representative spoke with barely controlled anger. You decimated our fleets. How is that peaceful intent? You invaded our space without provocation. We responded with exactly the force necessary to end the threat. Your surviving crews were released unharmed with full medical treatment. A truly aggressive species would have left no survivors to carry warnings. The truth of that statement resonated through the chamber. Despite overwhelming military superiority, humanity had shown restraint that few galactic civilizations would have demonstrated. Chen's final statement carried the weight of absolute certainty. The age of human silence is over. Earth now takes its place among galactic civilizations, not as conquerors but as equals who demand respect. We offer trade, diplomacy, and cooperation to any who approach us honestly. We offer swift destruction to any who threaten our people or our world. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy began to adjust to its new reality. Trade delegations replaced war fleets as alien civilizations recognized that humanity represented opportunity rather than threat. The collective's crystalline beings offered technological exchanges. The Confederation's gas dwellers proposed joint exploration missions. Even some hegemony factions approached Earth with tentative peace overtures. But the most significant change was subtler. Throughout known space, military planners updated their strategic assessments. The humans had demonstrated that technological superiority could overcome numerical disadvantage, that careful preparation could triumph over aggressive expansion, that silence was not weakness. Admiral Chen stood on the observation deck of Earth's first open diplomatic station, built in high orbit where alien delegations could visit safely. Through reinforced windows, she watched ships from a dozen species conducting peaceful business in what had once been empty space. Her communications officer approached with the daily intelligence summary. Admiral, Long-range sensors show the hegemony is restructuring their military doctrine. They're emphasizing defensive strategies instead of conquest campaigns. Good, Chen replied. Fear can be educational when properly applied. Ma'am, are you concerned about the long-term implications? We've revealed our hand. If the galaxy decides we're too dangerous to exist. Chen considered the question carefully. Humanity had indeed shown its strength, but strength alone wouldn't ensure survival. The real test would be proving that humans could be trusted with the power they possessed. Commander, we've spent 40 years preparing for galactic contact, not just militarily but culturally and diplomatically. We knew this moment would come. The galaxy thought Earth was defenseless because we wanted them to think that. Now they know better, and they have to decide what kind of neighbors will be. She gestured toward the alien ships conducting peaceful trade outside. They're here voluntarily, engaging with us as equals. That's not fear-talking, that's respect. The galaxy had learned that humanity was not defenseless. More importantly, it was learning that humans were not conquerors. The species that had remained silent for 4 decades had demonstrated both the capability for war and the wisdom to choose peace. Earth's long deception was over. The age of human diplomacy had begun, and in the vast reaches of space the galaxy adjusted to a new balance of power, one where the quiet blue world in an unremarkable system had proven that sometimes the most dangerous civilizations were those that preferred not to fight. Admiral Chen watched another alien delegation dock with the station, their ship bearing the symbols of a species humanity had never met before. Word was spreading through the galaxy. Earth was open for business, ready for friendship, and absolutely prepared for war if necessary. The universe had learned to listen to the silence. Now it would learn to respect the voice that emerged from it.